Tel Aviv, the brand new IDF Chief of Staff, again, Kochavi, is now leaving the vehicle for this ceremony. It's a lot of course, handshakes and pomp and circumstance. A few hours ago, Netanyahu made it official, pinning the new rank of Lieutenant General on Aviv Kochavi, and he is now officially the new IDF Chief of Staff. He will now meet some of the other top generals and top commanders in the IDF and make it official. We should point out Kochavi is on the left of your screen in the red beret, the taller man. The man on the right, a little bit shorter, a little bit older, Gadi Eizenkot, who is the outgoing IDF Chief of Staff. These images are of the wives and the family also being escorted there. Again, Gadi Eizenkot is retiring after 4 years as the IDF's top officer, the IDF Chief of Staff. That's him on the right there. 40 years working in the IDF. And now here, Gadi Eizenkot is on the left, is now officially the new Chief of Staff, the 22nd one in the IDF's history. Let's listen to a little bit of this ceremony now. With me in studio is our international affairs correspondent, Owen Alterman, who will provide a paraphrasing of some of the remarks that we'll be hearing on the loudspeaker. So let's look at the ceremony live. You can see the military band there, the pomp and circumstance underway live for us right now on our screens.
The audience is asked to rise. Please be seated. Switching of the guards. Saluting the honor guard.
is the new IDF Chief of Staff, Gadi Eizenkot, the tall man in the red beret, making the way down the honor guard of soldiers from various units in the IDF, stopping every now and then to pause and to chat with some of them, ask some personal questions to some of those lucky soldiers who get to a few moments of personal time with the new IDF Chief of Staff. There he is now, walking up. Let's continue to follow along here, listen in live at this historic moment with the 22nd Chief of Staff for the Israel Defense Forces. Celebrations continue for the brand new IDF Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi, making the way down the line there. His arm might be sore when all is said and done. A lot of handshakes, of course, and smiles. It is a celebratory day, a day of passing of the guard from the former IDF Chief of Staff, Gadi Eizenkot, who led for 4 years, now passing on to this man on your screen, Aviv Kochavi, who was the deputy for many years. Just also interesting to note that both men, the outgoing IDF Chief of Staff and now this man, who was the deputy for many years, both served in the most recent Gaza war 4 years ago. Both were commanders, know the threat from Hamas very well, and they're also well aware of the threat in the north and the ongoing threat from Hezbollah cross-border tunnels, as well as Hezbollah entrenchment in Syria and the Iranian issue of funding militias and terror groups like Hezbollah and having them set up military positions, permanent military posts in Syria, just over Israel's border. These twin threats very much on the minds, of course, of the outgoing IDF Chief of Staff, who combated that threat for 4 years and for 40 years, really, in his service as a soldier. And it's also on the mind, of course, of this man on your screen now, the new IDF Chief of Staff. Of course, the reason this is such a big celebration in large part in Israel is because of the compulsory military service that everyone, regardless of your wealth or your occupation, whether you're rich or poor, from the north or south, everyone's son or daughter, for the most part, must serve in the IDF. It is a cultural thing as much as it is a security thing for Israel. Everyone serves. Everyone takes part in some element of participating in Israeli security. So understanding and meeting the man who was at the top of the food chain, the top officer in the IDF, is important. This is a major event. People are aware and pay very close attention to who is leading the IDF of Chief of Staff in a way that is not seen in other countries, even America, where people are not as familiar with their military commanders. But in this country, where everyone has a son or daughter or a niece or nephew or grandchild that will one day wear that uniform, it's very important that people are aware of who is taking charge. Let's continue to listen live as the ceremony continues.
Instructions to the honor guard. More instructions to the honor guard. And the same. Addresses the General Staff.